Hola, bienvenido a Chisme Café y estamos muy felices que todos están aquí.
If you are watching this, you did see the beginning of the clip. That is a pair of shorts that we actually made for Cole Volt. So he'll be receiving that sometime next week. Once again, we have the cool
Well, let's see if you can see it.
sweatshirts out. And a lot of people like this white on black, which Cole also did order. So he'll be receiving that. But if you guys are interested, I know it's getting a little warmer.
So shorts are the way to go, or we can always do shirts,
Yep.
or we could do tank tops as well.
I know for all the gym bros, I know you're looking for something spicy. We can start working on some bro tanks. So, just something to think about, something to talk, discuss.
And I've been throwing around the idea of puff vinyl. So if you would be interested in puff vinyl, let me know because I think it could be pretty cool.
If you guys did see we went. Let's actually start with announcements. We have none, I don't think, for the time being.
No, we're just working on some orders. We already talked about it, and just let us know if you would like any.
Just to give us an update, we were in New London last week, Appleton area, Wisconsin.
We did not go to the true big New London St. Patty's Day celebration. It's pretty big around here. Yeah. We did go on Friday versus Saturday, but it was still fun. We went to one of the bars. It's called Pups, and it's like an Irish bar. That one was packed.
Yes.
And then we kind of just hung out with one of your coworkers at the upper deck, and that's pretty cool.
So that's what we were doing. Morgan did hand stitch a sweatshirt with Irish clothes.
Oh yeah, right here. I actually have it on because we didn't do one last week because I was sick.
Yeah, so Morgan had the flu last week, so we ended up just not recording anything just because she needed to recover. So she did have like a 24-hour flu.
Talk about the worst 3-hour car ride. You are keeled over, trying not to puke for 3 hours.
That's what we did last weekend. Nothing crazy this week. But Morgan, do you have any chisme to line up? Let people know what's going on.
Yeah. So this was something that Kayla actually brought up this last weekend.
Kayla Warner. I always like to say Uppus, but
was what's known as the forever chemicals. So right now they're already banned in the European Union, or being banned, and now that's coming over to America. So it's the PFAS. That's kind of the abbreviation for them, or PFOS. So or PFOA. Sorry. So they're hazardous to the human immune system, and they have been linked with negative side effects with fertility, child development, and metabolism. The crazy thing is there's over 9,000 PFAS compounds, and they have, which hundreds of them are used differently. There's always a different use case. So with your non-stick coatings, so like Teflon, they have those chemicals in it, fabric protectors, plastics. It's actually pretty crazy to know because pretty much, I think the statistic said that there were 60% of bedding and clothing marketed for children have some sort of forever chemical in it. So it's just pretty crazy to know that they're all over.
Yeah.
Another big item that has them are takeaway containers. So your styrofoam, your pizza boxes, they have those, so it resists the grease stains from seeping through the boxes.
And I know that they are working, a lot of manufacturers are working to eliminate these types of chemicals in their products. It's kind of a regulation that's actually coming from the European Union to the United States. So companies in the United States are working on getting these chemicals out of these plastic containers. There is also, since these chemicals do last forever, there was another study I glimpsed at it yesterday. I didn't read through it, but they are working on, I think it was enzymes or cultures or something along the lines of that, or being able to break these forever chemicals down, further down. So they take samples, and the compound that they're working on breaks these forever chemicals into items that can be reused. So that is something I did read. I know they are working on it, but environmental science isn't my.
That's not your forte.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. So I don't really pay much attention to it. But I did see an article on that.
And then another one that I have was along the same lines, but in regards to pesticides. So another thing that the EU does, they're always ahead of chemicals, like I said. They right now are limiting the amount of pesticides they can use, and they are calling for an 80% reduction in pesticide use by 2030 and a complete phase out by 2035. So I know you hear all the time that someone in the United States can't eat like wheat. Yeah. But they'll go over to Italy, they'll go over to anywhere in the European Union, and they can like eat pasta, they can eat pizza, and they don't have any side effects. And that's one of the causes is because they don't use so many chemicals in their food, and it's more of a true form of like the wheat. Yep. Not so processed and chemicalized. And then lastly, and this one's not related, and it's pretty crazy, but there is a thing that they are trying to do, and it is deep sea mining. And why they want to do this deep sea mining, in layman's terms, is the ocean develops these little like ball type things, and those balls are filled with elements that the world needs to build their renewable energy.
Just a quick side note. So Morgan was explaining they're like nodules.
Yeah.
So they're compounds like just a big ball of like specific elements that you need. So I think it was nickel, copper, had all these great elements. But when she was explaining this, I mean, it was like hardcore, like science detailed. So yes. Just trying to simplify it because it was very super complex.
So they're composed of iron and manganese oxides that accrete around the nucleus on the vast abyssal plains of the global ocean. So these are really found in the Clarion-Clipperton zone, and that's located in the northeast equatorial Pacific Ocean. So how I kind of came across this was I read an article of the impacts that deep sea mining could have, because the world only knows about like 100 and some thousand species in the ocean, and there's estimated to be like 1.75 million species in the ocean that we have not yet discovered. So if we're implementing these deep sea mining techniques and kind of getting all of these little nodule things out for renewable energy or whatever, you are then going to kill the microorganisms or organisms that we don't know what impact that could have on the ocean long term. So that's kind of my cheese man I have for the week.
So Morgan went all environmental. Definitely wouldn't say she's a hippie on that end, but she is definitely proactive for environmental use and keeping things operating in the world green. But my cheese is, I think it's all over the place. So the first one is autism now more common in Black, Latino children, Black and Latino children than white in the U.S. So this was on BBC News. So definitely was clickbait. So I clicked on it to see what was going on. So basically, to sum it up, it's just due to improved screening for autism for all kids. That's why they're seeing more of statistics on autisms in Blacks and Latino children. just because there is testing, there's more information on it, and there's actually aids and stuff to be able to diagnose these children. So basically the study was saying that the majority of people in the past were wealthier white individuals that were able to actually diagnose for autism.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that statistic. So in reading in the study also, there's no biological reason why it would be more common in one race than the other, or racial group. So it's just something that it's more of just, there's a statistic they're actually using, so they're actually able to get more information.
And you were saying that they can't really diagnose autism, right? It's just an autism spectrum.
Yeah, so I tried to look into all this, but it's very, very broad on the, right. You could be I don't know if this is proper, but a little autistic where you're still functional and everything's still going well, but there's just a little of the spectrum. And then your worst case scenario is like you're way off the spectrum and you're able to, what autism is, which is in the past is how they would always grade it. So if the only way you would have autism if you were on the far spectrum. But now there's classes and there's different things in that. So.
And I saw something yesterday that it could be linked to a deficiency of
BCAAs.
Yeah, BCAAs.
Yep.
So just making sure you're getting those amino acids, especially when you're pregnant too. It's really important because when you're pregnant, you give so much of yourself to the baby.
Yeah. No, and autism isn't very. There's no root cause. There's no actual information of saying, hey, this is where it's coming from. But autism rates have been rising for the last couple decades. But they are more common in boys than girls, is kind of what the last of the study said. So it's just, that information, just so you guys are aware. Looked into it. But it's cool that they are actually testing and there's more information going out there. The other thing that I looked in, I thought it was pretty funny, that if you are good looking, you have a better opportunity in the workforce. So this article, there's actually studies on it based on being attractive. Right. How well you are and how successful you are. So
we're not saying it's right, at all, but
I'm just saying if you're good looking, you're doing all right. But that's
maybe.
That's what it was saying. It was just basically there's studies. You don't do it on purpose, but you're naturally.
Your unconscious bias kind of kicks in.
Yeah, you're always the attractive person's always gonna be more. Not lucrative, but it's going to be more like a want that you see. But yeah, there's actually laws going into effect to kind of aid this.
Which I thought was funny. You can do as much unconscious bias and bias training you can, as an HR professional, that's what you can do, but you're never going to completely solve it, right? Yeah. There could be some AI introduced into it, but then AI is going to have its own biases too. So you're never going to solve the biases.
Well, yeah, like I said, I thought it was funny. It's just basically two studies where they just pulled two individuals that were basically in the same field. One was more attractive than the other, and there was a big difference, right? And then they started digging.
But I would like to know all the factors that they looked into.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Morgan's trying to just prove. That's what I'm reading. It makes sense though, in the sense of if you're more attractive, more people are willing to, kind of talk to you. You're kind of get your way.
Yeah.
But there's also a bias in where people are envious, and then that ends up happening. But this study was just saying that good-looking people have a better opportunity. So if you're good-looking, good for you. If you're not, it might suck, but.
Try really, really, really hard.
And then, so the other thing that I looked into was
we have a lot this week.
A lot of science stuff that's always just interesting. Taking care of your teeth could help prevent arthritis and joint pain. So hopefully all you guys are brushing your teeth
and flossing.
Brushing teeth for sure. So basically, in this study, a scientist was looking back at data information, and they were looking and they saw that there was a correlation between, let me see where it's at. It's periodontitis, which is a severe gum disease which damages the gums and destroys the jaw lining. So basically, from this, they saw that there was a correlation between bad teeth and arthritis due to the fact that bacteria could get into your bloodstream, could cause other reactions and pain in joints. So this was a biological computational study, which is super strange because computational is basically using math to put a consensus on it, or using extrapolation information. So it's not that it's an actual physical study, but based on the numbers and information they're getting, they're concluding that having bad teeth or not brushing your teeth can include some type of arthritis.
Yeah, and I know that I've read some things outside of this, and you can get jaw cavitations, and that can really cause some health issues. But they have looked into all of the nerves in your teeth and how they connect to your brain and just overall all body, and it's pretty crazy. You can Google them and see, but having a clean mouth with as minimal of bad bacteria as possible is ideal, right? I know my sister tongue scrapes, my mom does that, I don't, but that's another way to eliminate the bacteria, especially the stuff that...
And there is, not we're saying we're dense, but there is there's a point where if you're too aggressive, also if you do need some bacteria in your teeth, but there's also eliminate them all, because that also causes problems. But
just make sure you go to the dentist.
But yeah, that's basically the study. So I found a lot of just interesting information that was out there. But in regards to the actual topic for today, just because we're on the science kick.
And I was sick last week, and I had Googled why you throw up. And then it led us into this.
Yeah, so basically, if you've ever felt heartburn, is kind of what this leads into. We started digging into what is the stomach, what is heartburn.
Low stomach acid, high stomach acid.
So that's what so we're just going to talk about stomach acid and effects of low, high, and heartburn, because it all ties in together. The stomach is a very complex system. Yeah, because we were looking at it and I'm like, oh, it's just going to be around, but you start looking at secretion, other stuff.
And not just in the stomach. You just look at if you Google pH of the body, it just goes into these huge articles. It's pretty cool.
But I'll just give you a rundown of what stomach. So it's gastric acid, it's gastric juices also, or stomach acid. It's basically a digestive fluid formed within the stomach lining. So it's what is in your stomach that helps digest proteins, fats, carbohydrates. So the acid that's in your stomach is about a pH of 1 and 3. For people that don't know pH, I guess I should just elaborate. So a pH scale is from 1 to 14, and then 7 is neutral. One's very acidic, 14 is very caustic, very basic. So if you're in either of those directions, that's kind of what they're working on. So if you're 1 to 3, you're very, very acidic. You're closer to the acidic part of the pH scale. So like I said, it plays a role in digestive of proteins by activating digestive enzymes. So it activates the digestive enzyme in your stomach, which ends up breaking the proteins and breaking them down into amino acids for your body to absorb.
And the acid is secreted from the pancreas, correct?
Yeah, so it makes a compound that does that. So the way it works, it's your body will produce more based on a feedback system. So if your brain is telling that you're eating, it will tell it to produce more hydrochloric acid, which is what is in there. So HCl is what's in there. But you also have another compound that if your acid's too low, it'll regulate bicarbonates to regulate the pH and keep it between that. So that's also going. So you also secrete about 1.5 liters of acid daily. So that's
wow, I didn't realize that.
So it's quite a bit that you're producing. Yeah, and it's regulated by automatic nervous system and several hormones. So your hormones and your nervous system tells it, to produce more acid. So that's kind of the rundown. There's a lot more information in between that, but I also just want to discuss the heartburn. So what is heartburn? Some people get it, some people don't. You can get it from overeating. You can get it from eating high-fat foods, having acidic products in the morning. So all these affect just based on the pH of your stomach, right? So the reason you get heartburn is that there's a valve at the bottom of your esophagus. When you eat, it comes down. There's a valve that opens and closes to let food come down and go into your stomach. The valve that is on the bottom of the esophagus is the lower esophagus.
Esophageal.
Lower esophageal sphincter. Sphincter. I think I spelled that wrong. But if that is not opening and closing correctly, the acid in your stomach is going back into your esophagus. That's why you feel that burn. So what's going back is just an acid, the hydrochloric acid, back into your esophagus. So that's why you feel heartburn.
And you said that if you have like excess stomach acid, they usually use if you can't control it in different ways, they usually use the H2 pump inhibitor.
So what Morgan's referring to is there's, so the only way, so have you ever taken Tums or you taken other items? So what it's doing is it's controlling the pH, right? Your pH is either too low or sitting at just not where it's supposed to be. So adding bicarbonates or Tums lowers that pH and to be at that range of 1 to 3. Now when it's way too high, or there's other gastro diseases, what it ends up doing, they'll give you an inhibitor. So it inhibits the production of this pump to producing hydrochloric acid. So that's how they regulate and control it, by inhibiting the pump so it doesn't produce hydrochloric acid.
Gotcha.
So yes, that's heartburn, your stomach overall in a short amount of time. It's definitely more complex than that, but
you can definitely go into huge rabbit holes. But we won't bore you all with that rabbit hole. So I will talk about inadequate stomach acid levels and how those can also be really negative. Whether you have high acid levels or low acid levels, both are not great. So I'll talk through low stomach acid levels. And starting off, low stomach acids levels have been associated with quite a few things, such as skin issues, osteoporosis, asthma, arthritis, SIBO, which is the small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, and then also diabetes. So there's quite a few things that can, like stomach levels can impact your overall health in. So some of the causes of low stomach acid, you have a high sugar intake. When you have a high sugar intake, your stomach gets inflamed, and then there's just negative side effects with that. You can be zinc deficient. You're eating too quickly and not chewing your food fully. Your age is also one of the reasons. You can have infection, chronic illness, or you can have food sensitivities or allergies. Some of the symptoms that go along with that, so cramping, like just stomach cramping, nausea, acid reflux, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea. You can get other infections. You can have undigested food, bad breath, weak skin and brittle nails, dry skin, and also hair loss. So those are kind of just some of the things that can happen when you don't have enough stomach acid. So when you're thinking about how you can improve your stomach acid, making sure you're chewing your food adequately. I know a lot of people, and I do it too, I'm not shaming anyone, but they eat really fast. So just like making sure to chew your food fully. One of the techniques I've seen is like take a bite, put your fork down. because then you don't have it like in your hand, just like ready to eat more. You can take the time to chew, so it's easier for your stomach to process that food. So limit your processed foods. So processed and sugary foods cause inflammation in the stomach and can trigger acid reflux and the decrease of acid activity. So fruits and vegetables can increase your acid levels. So really making sure you're eating that balanced diet. One of the other studies I read was making sure you're eating chlorophyll filled foods, so like your dark leafy greens and vegetables. Fermented foods such as like kimchi, sauerkraut, and pickles, they all contain probiotics, so this can just help your stomach produce those acid levels. Also, there's other health benefits associated with fermented vegetables, like improved immune function, lower blood pressure, and other stuff. Apple cider vinegar, which throwback Thursday to like 2018.
Smells disgusting.
Where if you were like in the like fitness health community at all, you were taking like shots of ACV. But it is good for you. It's vinegar, so it's fermented, so it also has those health benefits as fermented vegetables. Ginger, this is an anti-inflammatory, so it helps, like if you say you ate a lot of processed foods and you're not feeling super great, you could always take some ginger because it's anti-inflammatory and it helps the inflammation that's seen with low stomach acid. Another couple more, you can use bitters. So there's ones that you can spray in your mouth or you can take, and this promotes digestion by stimulating the secretion of bile and stomach acid and those digestive enzymes that you need. So you're supposed to take this about 10 to 15 minutes before you eat a meal, just to get those benefits. Lastly, Christian mentioned the HCl, and that's the acid in your stomach. If you have really low stomach acid, you can take betaine HCl, and this replenishes your stomach acid levels, increases your ability to digest proteins and minerals, and they decrease other low acid symptoms. So methyl is a donor and is used for proper liver function and cell replication and detox reactions, and that could also, this HCl, taking that HCl helps with that. And these are also found in the choline-rich foods such as like beets. But also, one of these reasons that you could have like poor liver function is you're deficient in like the B12, folic acid, zinc, and that can also impact your body's natural biosynthesis. So this article, one, do not take medical advice from us. Two,
not for sure. This is just information that you guys can be aware and look into.
Yeah, you do at your own risk. It also says make sure you use with caution and you take with a practitioner.
Because basically, when you have low stomach acid, it's just a lot of this because it's not you're not actually breaking down the proteins and all the nutrients that you need. So if you're not breaking it down completely, you're just not receiving any nutrients. Which if don't receiving not enough nutrients, you're just having a bunch of side effects.
Right.
So just to sum it down, simplify, that's what it is. If your acid's very low, it's not breaking down components, you are going to be deficient across the board.
And one of the things, like I have some digestive issues, Christian's like digestive system of gold over there, but you can always buy like digestive enzymes to take with your food. That's something that I've done for the last probably like 3-4 years, and that's helped me a lot. So there's other ways outside of these, say 7 that I talked about, but you really just need to find what works best for you.
Yeah,
Go to a doctor, get your physical done, talk to them about these things, and they can provide you true medical advice.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that it's just a complex system, and there's a lot of components and variables that could be off.
Right.
But yeah, no, we just thought we'd give you the rundown on how your stomach works. You know, it's working 365, 24/7.
All the time.
So just to give you an idea of what your stomach's doing when you're actually consuming, and if you're having issues, I know definitely reach out to a medical profession. But it's good to understand just complex things.
Yeah. So be kind to your stomach and make sure you eat your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all we got. We're gonna
Yeah.
roll it up, and we'll see you next week with some more information.
Science or not, we'll be here.
All right.
Okay. Adios, amigos.